Hello everyone, this is Ayad Boudiab and we are still proceeding with our AngularJS course, and recently have been spending some time with the directives that we've been talking about, and that's also part of today's discussion. I'm still using the same basic controller that contains the book names and page count and so on. We've been working with this controller for a while, so we should be very familiar with it. But specifically today, I'd like to discuss some of the directives, and we need to talk about ng show, ng hide, ng if, and also we can see how we can apply a filter to the ng repeat. So, and all this we're displaying information within tables, and to make tables look nicer and prettier, of course, we've been using Bootstrap for that purpose. So right now, as you can see, the page is empty. I have a div that contains the book panel, and it references the basic controller, which is I did not put on the page yet, right? And then I have an HT that has the title, my book list, and within that div, I'll start adding the rest of the information. So then in this case, let's go back and add our references, and then make sure that we have our module and the controller, and then we'll take it from there. Let's go ahead and start with the references then. I have reference to AngularJS and the references to Bootstrap. Okay. Now, after that, I need to create the script that basically creates the module and then adds the controller. Let's do that here. That will be still in the head. I have a script that represents the module called directive app, and then within that module, after I create the module, I say dot controller to create the actual controller named basic controller, and I'm adding the books to the scope like we have discussed before. Okay, so now having basic controller being created here, having basic controller being referenced here inside the div, now I can refer to the books within the div, right? So this is my scope right here. Okay. Of course, I can have the basic controller being on top of here on the body and being able to be referenced anywhere on the page. But for now, it's only within the div, and that's all what I need. Now, having the module being directive app, I need to make sure that this being created here with ng app, and then I have the directive app on the top. Okay, so now based on our experience with previous demonstrations and how we can work with modules and controllers, we know pretty much we are in the right place, right? We created the structure that we want, we created the module, we added the controller to it, we added the books to the scope, we added the ng controller down on the bottom to be part of the div. So I have the structure that I need. Okay, so let's now go ahead and create our HTML elements. But before I do that, I need a couple of styles that I referenced somewhere down on the page. So still here in the head section of the page, I'm going to drop a couple of styles. So I have the odd class and the even class. You've seen these before as well. So this is just for the elements within the table. Okay, so now we are inside the div, and I need to create the table, and I also need to use my ng show and ng hide like I have discussed with you. So first of all, then we start with the table, right? So in here, underneath the h3, I'm going to create my table. Okay, and now this table is using the class table from Bootstrap. There's some headers associated with this table, and then we'll create the body shortly. Now the headers are the ID, name, page, read, and feedback. The ID, we've seen this before, that we can always ask the variable of the ng repeat, being the index, to give us its value. That way we can know what ID it is. We have the name, page, and page count and read. They all come from here. Name, page count, and read. So we have all this members. Now the feedback, this one is driven by the ng show and ng hide that I was talking about. So these pretty much are the headers. Now underneath the header, I'm going to put the t body, right? This is the t body right there. And then within the t body, I'm going to put a table row, and that table row contains the information that I need. Now the table row, obviously, like you've seen before, would use the ng repeat to repeat over some elements from the books, so I'd be able to display them. I'm going to refer to book in books, and then in here I'm going to use the ng class, right? This is one way of using certain classes in our code, and that ng class right now is an odd-even class depending on the property that comes in from ng repeat. Now what I need in here is to check that property. Now ng repeat has a variable named odd. So $odd would be to tell me whether the row that I'm interested in or the record that I'm interested in is even or odd. If it is odd, then I'm going to use the odd class that I just declared above, and then if it is even, I'm going to use the even class that I have discussed above as well. Make sure that I have closed the quotes and make sure that's odd and even for the classes. Okay, so far then we're good. We are repeating over the books and we need to do something about them, right? Okay, and also I've discussed with you earlier the following. I have the book.name, book.page count, and the red. It's all there, and the index +1 to display the index of that record. Since the index is started at 0, we add 1. We've done this. Now here comes the part related to the feedback, right? So I have a TD here, and then in that TD I'll have a couple of spans. Now this span will use the ng show. In the ng show, I would check a specific property, because if this evaluates to true, then I'm going to show the content. If it evaluates to false, I'm going to hide the content. But please note, we are saying in here show and hide, means as far as the browser is concerned, the content is there, right? Yeah, but we're just hiding it and showing it. Okay? So we're not completely removing it. That's what I'm talking about. So in this case, then I'm going to check the book.read property, and then it evaluates this, and I have in here great job. Okay. Now I have down here another span, and in this span I'm going to say still have some more reading to do. Alright, now the span in here is driven by ng hide. Well, again, as the name implies, in this case, whether you want to hide something or not, and I'm going to use the book.read as well. So having said this, let's see what we end up with this example. Make sure we saved, copy the file path, come to Google, and load the page. Okay, as you can see, I have the ID 12345, the name, the page count, and the read property. If it's false, it says still have some more reading to do, and if it's true, it says great job. Right? This is driven by the ng show and ng hide that you have seen here. Okay. Now let's take this step further and see what else we can do. I need to use, let's see how we can use, for example, the ng if, right? Okay, so for that reason, I'm going to put an HR here, and then I'm going to copy this table, place it underneath, and make some more changes. I still have the ID, the name, the page count, the read, and the feedback, and I'm still repeating the books in the book in books, and I'm using the ng class. Again, I have the index, the book, and the name of the page count. Now, inside the TD, I'm going to look at the spans with, instead of using ng show and ng hide, let's see if we can change this to ng if. It's a condition, right? If something happened, I want to do something. So in here it says ng if the book.read evaluates true, I'm going to say great job. Well, in here there's no such thing as ng not if, right? Or else or something like that. It's not available. So what I need to do is to negate this guy. I'm going to use the exclamation mark. Means if it's not book.read, then I will say still have some more reading to do. That's how I can handle that case. So I replace the ng show and ng hide with ng if in that case. Save, and go back to Chrome, reload, and as you can see, the same results, right? If that was true, then I would say great job. If not, I would say still have some more reading to do. Okay, now let's go back and do one more thing in here and see how we can basically work with filters, because in this case you might be thinking, well, I can use ng repeat and ng if in here and hide and show stuff, but usually these ng repeat and ng if, they don't work well together in the same row. So what I need to do, instead of using the if condition, I can use filters. So I can filter some data, the one that I'm interested in. So to do this, then let's go ahead and get the HR and the table, copy that, and go underneath, and then let's go ahead and paste it. Now I still have the same concept again for the table, and I have in here the ng if for book.read and so on. So everything in here is still the same, but in that case I'd like to work with the filters like I mentioned to you. So then in this case, then it will display the same thing, but you see that book in books, that will give me some type of result set, right? That result set will be all the books that they are available in the books array. Okay, but as I've showed you in previous exercises that we've done, we can always filter that data, right? And to do filtering, we use the pipe. So space pipe, and then I put my condition here, and that will be a filter, and that filter will have the in this case I'm going to use the red property as well. I need to make sure that this is true. Go ahead and save. So now what we did is we piped the result that we got, which is pretty much everything in the array, right, into a filter, and then we're using the red in here to be true. Go ahead and save, and then go back to Chrome, reload, and then something is missing here, right? So let's go back and see, because I need to display only the items that they are true. So let's go back and see what we've missed. So the TR has ng repeat book in books, and this is where was filtered into the red property, and this is true, and then this is closed. I have ng class equal odd, and let's go back to the top and see what we have other than that being the issue. Let's scroll up here and see what we're missing. We have this table, we have the HR, we have the other table, and it's, well, it's right there. I have the div, right? This is the closing div for this div, which make the basic controller only available for the first one. So let's make sure that we take this div out, and that I missed that then for both tables, right? So you scroll down here and you make sure that this div is for all the tables. That way the basic controller is available for the 3 tables. Make sure we save, go back, reload, and here it is. We're displaying the tables now, and you notice that the third table has the true property. Why? Because we filtered that down here by saying this is the third one, by saying filter red true. Of course, I can replace this one with false, and it will only give me the false ones. Okay, so that's one way of working with that. Again, I can use the filter instead of working with the ngRepeat and ngIf because they don't work well together in this case. And one thing I can do, for example, with this last column, I can use ng style to apply some style to it, and ng style equal, and in this case let's go ahead and put some styles that we're interested in. For example, I can use, let's put colon, and here's the value, make sure the quotes are correct. So in this case I'm going to use, for example, font style, and then the property would be italic. Let's go ahead and save that by using ng style. That ng style is only applied to the last column. All right, let's go back to Chrome and reload. You notice that the third column has its data being italic. Okay, so then what we've done in this case, we work with different ways of dealing with a table, but specifically I was interested in the last column by using ng show and ng hide to show and hide content, and also I showed you how we can work with ng if instead, and also how I can filter some data using the pipe to filter the results from ngRepeat, and I also showed you how we can work with ng style to set a specific style, for example, for a column in this case. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I'm going to look more into other directives so we can be more familiar with them. Looking forward for the next video. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Ayad Boudiab, and you have a